everyone. I'm Lauren Sullivan, co-director of Reverb here. Happy Earth Day. And this is...
Who am I? This is Adam Gardner. I play in the band Guster and also co-founded Reverb, which is an environmental nonprofit organization that works within the music space, harnessing the power of music to engage millions of fans to take action for the environment. We took a trip with a bunch of musicians to the Peruvian Amazon in partnership with the Environmental Investigation Agency to learn from indigenous communities the effects of illegal logging there. And unfortunately, musical instruments are playing a role in the demand for these rare tone woods. We're going to show you a trailer right now from Antamiki, which is the documentary we shot of our trip. And afterwards, we're going to talk a little bit. So please stick around. We'll share our experiences of the trip and also make sure you understand where to see the full documentary, which is 30 minutes.
I think I've been aware for quite some time that the Amazon has been under threat from many different sides.
So illegal logging has been a real problem here for some time, and it has effects on economies, it has effects on indigenous rights, and obviously environmental issues as well with various species, including, of course, the trees themselves.
As a guitar player who makes my living playing wood instruments, I wasn't aware that this was a problem or that people were being murdered over this issue. I think that's why we're here, is to spread awareness of this.
This is happening. I think that there's not enough people that even think about the Amazon, their wood coming from the Amazon, or coming from a community that had illegal loggers coming in there. We need to really listen to the indigenous cultures.
It just makes you realize what we're fighting for, and that if we don't preserve this and help these indigenous communities and look at our consumer choices, this will all be gone.
Nosotros como comunidad no vamos a permitir que nuestro territorio nos quita los taladores ilegales. Entonces es un territorio que se involucra en todo, ¿sí? Como pueblo, como comunidad. Es nuestro hogar, es nuestra casa y defendemos con nuestra vida.
So that was the trailer for Antamiki. You can watch the full documentary on Reverb's website. There should be a link there, but in case it isn't, I'll just say it. It's reverb.org/Antamiki. Thanks, guys, for joining us. This was something we pulled together, a little reunion here last minute. I guess one of the advantages of quarantining is that people are available. So, but thank you so much. I know you're still probably busy doing a lot of these sorts of things. I just wanted to, it's been a little bit of time since we were all in the rainforest together. What are your deepest memories when you think back to it? What was the kind of your biggest takeaway from the trip? Maybe start with KT.
As you were asking that question, Adam, a memory popped into my head. We were on a raft. And I think there was like 10 of us or 15 of us on this raft, and Diana, who was our chaperone in the jungle, had a bamboo stick with a piece of cord on it. And she was barefoot in a beautiful blue dress with her face painted with amazing indigenous symbols. And she cast this cord into the water and caught a piranha and just dragged it out. And she was like, piranha! And it was just this moment where I remember as well when we'd met her, and the deeper we got into the jungle, the calmer and happier and more grounded she became. And it was such an amazing kind of very visceral experience of that life of indigenous people living there and their understanding of their surroundings in a way that we'll never understand. And it was just a very beautiful and simple picture of life in the jungle and how different it is from ours and how precious it is.
Thanks for that, KT. I actually was just texting with Deanna, and for the people who haven't seen the film yet, she's kind of the main character of the film, and the film revolves around a song that she wrote. But I just reached out to her, and she wants everyone here and everyone in the live stream to know that she's doing well and everyone's healthy and the community is well. And maybe at the end, I'll talk a little bit more about the situation in general in the jungle, but Deanna's doing well personally and she gives her regards. But yeah, so the film is kind of centered on this song that Deanna wrote. And maybe someone else, maybe James, you want to talk about the song and how that all came together and some memories about that piece?
Yeah, well, one of the things that happened as soon as we got to the jungle was sort of an impromptu jam session. I think pretty quickly we understood that music would be sort of a universal language that we could use to, bridge the divides between our worlds that were so far apart. And I think KT started playing first and singing, and man, it was such a powerful experience to see. I mean, obviously KT's an amazing performer and has moved people all over the world with her performances, but to see her in the middle of the jungle and to play, what song was it that you started off playing?
I probably was playing, I think I played Hidden Heart, which is a song about trees that I'd written, but I know that Deanna was kind of going crazy for Suddenly I See, because I guess maybe she'd heard it. I don't know if she had, but she was loving that.
You were also playing a cover. Then there's a scene in the film. What was that song?
Was it I Want You Back?
No, it was.
I'm going through like the only covers I know the lyrics to.
Yeah.
Boys of Summer is
Boys of Summer. It was Boys of Summer.
It was Boys of Summer. Yeah. But it was amazing to see this like American pop song being performed in the middle of the jungle, and Deanna was completely moved by the performance and your voice, and we saw tears go to her eyes.
Yeah, I remember she cried.
Yeah, and so it was just this really. It was just a great lesson to see how music can bring all these different cultures together. So the reverse of that direction was this song that Deanna brought to us, and then we sort of made some chords up to accompany her, and then that became sort of the theme song of our whole mission, and we got to perform that at some different events, and that song's featured prominently in the movie.
It's a really cool song. As a filmmaker, it was a really I didn't know what was going to happen. I was just there to document it. And when this all these awesome musicians started forming a band with Deanna, indigenous leader from the Rainforest Peru, I was like, wow, this is something really, really magical. So I hope everyone gets a chance to watch the film and check that out and listen to the song there, which you can hear a little bit of in the trailer. But yeah, it was a really cool experience. One of the things that I think was important about this film is kind of the message to consumers and what people in places like the US need to know, about illegal logging. I wonder if, Stefan, you have anything you learned in the trip about that?
If you buy a piece of furniture, you don't care about where the wood comes from. You might be buying wood that at some point came across someone who was murdered trying to protect the tree that wood came from. And that's what we learned from Diana's father, who was murdered protecting a tree. Now as a consumer, I really try to trace back where that wood came from. Unfortunately, I can't be sure everything in my house is not, solid wood from not from illegal logging. And so as a consumer now, I want to make sure that there's laws and regulations that allow me as a consumer just to go buy furniture in America and know for sure 100% this is not coming from an illegal illicit business.
Yeah, that's really well said, Stefan. I mean, that's one of the things that we at the Environmental Investigation Agency have been working a long time, is getting that idea across, that and that's probably the ultimate message of the film, is that consumers need to ask where their wood is coming from. And KT says it very well in the film. And if you don't know, don't buy it. And that kind of brings me to maybe a little bit of an update of what's going on right now. We're all quarantining at home. That's true all around the world. But in a lot of places and in the Amazon, we know of cases of this the logging isn't stopping necessarily. In fact, there's people out there who are taking advantage of the situation to go into the forest and do more because there's nobody to stop them now. And so that invasion of territory, of indigenous territory, is happening more and more cases. The violence actually has increased. There have been cases of murders in this time now. And then there's also this aspect of when loggers come into communities, they also have the potential of bringing the virus to communities. And indigenous people are even more vulnerable to that. So it's a situation we all need to be aware of. And by not buying that wood, if people stop buying all that wood that's coming from those places, the loggers won't have the incentive to go do that. So we can play a role, even from home, by asking where wood is coming from and not buying wood from places where we don't know the origin.
Yeah, and that's why I think why the campaign that EIA and Reverb have together is called No More Bloodwood. It's similar to Blood Diamonds. It's in that way where you don't want to be supporting these illicit activities of these international crime syndicates, basically, and individual actors. Lauren, what would you say your walk away, like when we think back on that trip, like what sticks to you?
Yeah, for me, I think a big piece of it was the leadership that came from Diana and her activism and her kind of standing up for her community just as a woman, and Julia, another woman who was an indigenous leader, kind of the power of their voices and the power of Diana's song and her kind of call for all of us as consumers to pay attention to these kind of supply chains and how it affects people on the ground that are defending these rainforests that are, for the entire world. Them being on the front lines and just kind of the power of her voice was really incredible to me. So I think just as a female leader, just taking those chances and being out there, I just was in awe of her bravery to do that day in and day out.
And the other thing I think that I'd really love to add in this short chat in regards to the film is I remember also Diana telling us that they consider trees their family. They see trees as their family members. So their family is being slaughtered every day. And so that really stuck with me, that relationship with nature that really is as deep as it can go.
I mean, that kind of connects to I think my biggest walk away, especially since all the work we've been doing since coming out of the rainforest with our fans on tour and online collectively, all of us, is the power of music, not just to connect the way that did in the jungle, but also all the fans and everybody here in the Western Hemisphere and the Northern Hemisphere. Like, it's amazing, like seeing how our fans have come together to affect change, not only through watching the documentary, but actually taking actions. I followed up and delivered thousands and thousands of letters from all our fans to the president of Peru, demanding more transparency, legality as far as like following the laws, for the international laws too, for timber, and also demanding the prosecution of the murderers for these indigenous leaders who put themselves in harm's way to protect their homes.
It's easy now to find alternative wood. It's not like it's rocket science to find wood from sustainable places. It just takes a little Google search and it's easy.
And guitars too. Make sure you check out the environmental and wood sourcing policies of the companies that you're looking to buy instruments from.
Sure, and any product that's made of wood at all. Yeah, that's the thing, whether it's furniture or an instrument or flooring or doors, any of it. Well, for those who are watching right now, thanks so much for joining us. Please watch the full documentary at reverb.org/Antamiki and check out No More Bloodwood as well, our campaign. I think it's just nomorebloodwood.org. In fact, I know it is. And just make sure you ask where your wood is coming from. You can join our action campaign there and any of the others at reverb.org, and check out Environmental Investigation Agency as well.